Tonight on the Guy at the Movies podcast, the Golden Globes are returning to television, and Sean is thrilled. Isn't that right, Sean?
I'm just so happy. So happy.
Everyone is part of the family at this point.
I didn't do my fan fiction idea that I had, so this movie was garbage.
What is this?
You are a monster beyond all belief.
Put them all in the thing and let them do the thing. You know what I mean?
How? You're lucky to have me back.
You're never gonna get 60 million people because you're not a Super Bowl. Shut up.
So chaotic.
Welcome to the Guy at the Movies podcast. I am Joe. He is Sean. How the hell are you? Episode 125, Sean.
Episode 125. There's got to be some sort of like centennial or centquatriennial or quarter past centennial or something like that.
You're the math guy. I don't know why that's math, but numbers.
You know
number
what?
guy.
It's weird because that does show up as like math, and it's like, come on, that's not my purview. This is vocab.
It is a blessing to be able to do the show this long.
Oh my god, I'm so happy. Just so very happy.
Are
and
you?
You know what?
You looked a little pissy before.
Oh, well, I was. Yes, the technical difficulties were getting to me, and that woke me up plenty. But, I usually come off starting these things saying I'm tired. But for once, I, actually, I think for the first time in like 2 weeks, got a full night of sleep. So, lovely.
And you know what's crazy about that, Sean? I would say the same about me last night. Like, I woke up maybe a little bit later than I usually do this morning, but I woke up and was like, I feel really good.
I think I woke up at around 1 because I had minor acid reflux because of a pot roast because I'm 75 years old.
I take daily medicine for that. So right there with you.
There we go.
We have a lot to get to tonight. We're going to start off with trailers. Then tonight, the majority of the conversation is going to be around the chaos that's been consuming DC fans, DC Universe fans. Should we just call it that, I guess? DCU fans. As well as the Golden Globes returning, the nominations, and what they all mean for the state of films moving forward. I don't know.
So I was looking at the outline, and I'm just so happy because this is like the perfect like half and half of expertise right now.
Absolutely.
It's like DC stuff for you, and you'll be able to like go on that, and then I'll be able to go on the other stuff. So we'll just be able to annoy everyone on an equal share.
To be fair, I did tell you to read up on this shit.
I mean, yeah, you said I looked at the articles. I mean,
you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm still not going to know what's going on, but I have a few things I can put in.
That's the spirit. All right, let's dive into trailer reactions. The trailer we're talking about tonight is Spider-Verse or Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I kept messing up today when I was typing. I was like, Spider-Verse Across the Spider-Man, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And I'm like, wait, we got that already.
Congrats, because I was doing the same thing, but I couldn't even find the trailer on YouTube because I saw that it was out. So I went to YouTube and literally I was just like Into Across the Spider-Verse. They gotta sharpen this up. And what's worse, it's Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. So It's like there's no other prepositions that are available.
But didn't they change it? Like, isn't the third one a different name now?
I hope so.
I think it's Beyond the Spider-Verse, but I might be making that up.
No, that could be. That actually sounds exactly right. This is honestly like the Holland Spider-Man, where it's just every single one is like No Way Home, Homecoming, and then I'm like, wait, which one was the one we just had? Is it No Way Home? I genuinely can't remember it. I think it is, but
I'm trying to look it up real quick because I know that it's in the. There it is. It's in the Twitter bio. Beyond the
Far From Home.
Beyond the Spider-Verse is March 29th, 2024. So instead of doing part 1 and part 2, they just renamed the third one.
That is a better idea. I am happy they did that.
Which I think makes more sense there. All right. So I got to start off and just say that this trailer didn't really do much for me. I absolutely love the animation and stuff, and I'm very excited for the movie. Don't get me wrong. Don't mistaken that for, hating the movie and whatever. I just feel like we didn't get much new here. We, aside from what essentially was like a scene from the movie that they played for half the trailer, we then got a lot of flashbacks to the previous film. And then, of course, we saw the opening of the multiverse and got a little bit there. But aside from that, this really didn't do it for me. I wanted more from a first trailer. We got a teaser a while back, but I wanted more from a first trailer. What were you thinking?
So I actually liked what they did here because you're right. Basically the only like really impactful moment in this is the scene between him and his mom. And I thought that was important because, yes, there are obvious things that made the first Spider-Verse movie extremely cool, like through the action and the fun animation and all that stuff. But there was also those relationships that were shown, like between his father and him at the door, and then obviously his uncle and him, which got complicated, supervillain wise. And so I kind of love that, like, okay, so you know what? They're showcasing almost the entire trailer on, like, highlighting that, hey, this is going to have some big, boisterous, crazy animation like the first one, and it's going to probably expand a lot like a sequel normally does. But we are going to keep those relationships there. We're going to keep them centered. And, the mom was essentially a backseat for the whole movie anyway, but for the first one. So I like that, I like that they said, you know what? We could just do 2 minutes of crazy animation, which, don't get me wrong, I still adore. I still absolutely love. And the moment where like the Spider-Verse got opened and everything got crazy, I absolutely loved that. But I was somewhat happy when after it did, they're like, oh wait, no, they gave me some vegetables too. They gave me the little bit of the emotional story there, which, is not the cool, fun part to see. But I was like, they're going to have that in this. So that made me feel a little bit good.
What was the show a while back? It was a reality show where they were trying to help a woman overcome her phobia of vegetables, and they literally go to give her broccoli, and she goes,
It is the classic internet clip. I don't know what it's from, but I love seeing that. It's just always accompanied with how's the diet going. I will say, just to talk about the dog, of course, I dropped a carrot yesterday. And Scooter kept on was circling around it, kept on jutting the head in, occasionally spitting it out and biting it. And I was like, I gotta film this. So I filmed a great 2 minutes of it. Turns out I only filmed 2 seconds of it and I accidentally turned the camera off. I was like, this is internet gold. This is the meme that puts me on the map. And I just completely forgot. I was so upset.
This is the one. This is the one. Friendly reminder that when you don't talk into the microphone, we can't hear you.
Oh no! Is that really happening? Wait,
no, you're really good now. But you were talking, and then you're like, la, la, la.
Shoot. So yeah, what did you say? Episode 125? Yeah, no, really nailing this. Fantastic.
We'll get it by 250. We'll get it by.
God help me.
This one comes out June 2nd, 2022. I'm excited for it. I said when I did a trailer reaction today that the very first Spider-Verse, I remember I was kind of like, wow, this is weird. They're putting out an animated film at the same time that they're also exploring Spider-Man in the actual live action movies. It just seems really kind of an odd choice. And then foot and mouth at the end of it, because that's an incredible movie. To this day, when it's on, I'll watch it.
It is bonkers that it actually ended up working the way it did. Because not only is it Spider-Man animated movie while this behemoth known as the MCU is out there, but it's also that we're going to open up 1 million worlds and have a cartoon big Spider-Man, and it all just pays off and doesn't seem too busy. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very busy, but there's still a cohesive story there.
Yeah,
which I'm hoping they keep going here. I mean, obviously, I've already seen 1 million screenshots from the trailer, it's the Doctor Strange poster where everyone's like, "Oh, this you people don't know what these Spider-Men are. Don't oh, this is bag overhead Spider-Man. He's in issue 75 of the Crypto universe." It's no, you don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my god.
I don't know where that came from. That was a lot of frustration from a day of looking at posts about 800 screenshots.
I feel like everyone was posting different screenshots of it and was pointing out all the Spider-Man, just like you said. Oh man, who knows?
I won't try to pretend to know this. I'm going to enjoy what I can, which is normal for me in a comic book movie. It's I don't know what's happening.
I heard Mephisto's going to be in it.
You know what? A Mephisto Spider-Man would work.
Breaking news: Jack Harlow and Dua Lipa are hanging out. So just so you know, quote unquote.
Jack Harlow and Dua Lipa are hanging out. That is interesting. Who is Jack Harlow?
Jack Harlow is a white rapper who has been. I hate saying white rapper, but that's how people refer to him. And he was with Lil Nas X in one of his songs last year, and all that stuff. And then Dua Lipa is hit after hit.
Interestingly, I saw a post, and this is just 2 actors I never thought hanging out, and it was an Entertainment Weekly post on how Glenn Powell and Kate Hudson used to be drinking buddies. I thought about that, and I was like, God, that would be the best happy hour ever. That just would be so much fun.
Man, Kate Hudson and her character in
can't
Glass
wait.
Onion and Knives Out. Oh, you didn't see it? Yeah,
I still haven't seen it. Yeah.
I can't believe that this movie is not out yet. Like, I feel like it's just been the longest build up to this because they've been screening it for months.
It's my own fault because it was available for a week in the theater, and like there was something about it where I just said, "Well, it's gonna be on Netflix. I'll be able to watch it on the couch soon." And then I didn't realize I would have to like wait this long. But
Yeah, waiting forever for it. All right. So yeah, we have interest in that. We'll see what comes of it. I'm sure we'll get more trailers between now and June.
oh yeah,
Let's dive into what we've been watching. Two big hits this week. Two big films this week.
big streaming week. I haven't been to a theater in a while.
It was a very big streaming week, but some solid, I guess, some well publicized entries to this streaming game. Let's talk about Emancipation. This is the Anton Fuqua directed, Will Smith headliner. That is based on a true story about a slave who basically journeyed from captivity 10 miles through swamp to his freedom, and about the perils of that journey. This was in theater or is in theaters right now, I think a little bit. I think it's in limited theaters, that whole like Oscar qualifying run. And it is on Apple TV Plus as of now. Sean, do you want to start off?
Yeah, I was, for the most part disappointed. I think that there's a really good film in here somewhere. I will sort of like start off with this, where everyone's praising the cinematography, and I'm not a fan of that either.
Whoa, really? That's the only thing I liked.
So that's the only thing a lot of people are liking. Now, I think my issue with it was there was some beautiful imagery to it. So yeah, of course, in that regard, the cinematography does its accomplishment. But my big problem was, the black and white kind of took away from some of the grit, especially of that final battle, which I thought like, man, if this was in color, this would be way more impactful. And then like the one thing that really, really bothered me, and I think a lot of people liked this, so I might be in a dark corner here, but like the colorization of just a few things around once in a while was just like, are you just showing off here? Because like when I think about like, when you have a black and white movie and just one thing is in color, I think about something like, Schindler's List with the red dress, and how the girl with the red dress, and that's the only thing in color. And there's a reason for that. It points out suffering. It points out her character as, Liam Neeson sees her in two different scenes. With this, it's like, he's running through the woods and like, okay, let's make the leaves green in this shot. For really, like, it felt like no reason whatsoever. Now, I'm not going to question an artist. Maybe he had a reason for doing that. But there was moments where I was just like, you're just making things colorized at certain times for, I don't know. It didn't really feel like anything. And yes, the red, white, and blue flag in the flag, that one got me. But I'd say like also, and I've complained about this before this year, so, I'm just a stickler with this, but I think we got to chill with the drone shots. If we're going to do them though, like, let's have like a drone shot that shows the woods he's about to go through. I'm being very nitpicky on this one shot, but there's a shot where he kind of crosses a river and the drone goes perpendicular the other way. And I'm like, okay, so we just see him for like 2 seconds as he runs across the river. And then instead we're seeing this giant lake instead of seeing where he has to go. I'm like, that's just not really like good filmmaking. Now, I want to just give it up for Fuqua because I think there's a few like massive setting scenes here that really work. The building of the railroad was this huge set piece. Mm-hmm. The final battle was really well done. I don't think anything was emotionally earned, and it should have been in this movie because, he goes through some shit, and it really should have been like this emotional earning. But I don't think I knew that character at all by the end. And so as he's like in that battle, I found myself not caring that much, which I think you have a story where it's easy to care, and I just didn't. It was very strange for me.
So on the cinematography note and the coloring, I was expecting more of a Pleasantville type thing where as the story is unfolding, the color is coming back into it. So it's almost like, as he's making it to freedom, that, starts happening. That's what I was expecting. It was kind of interesting that they kept the whole motif all the way through. Here's my biggest problem with this movie. My biggest problem with this movie is that it says it's based on a true story when it should have been inspired by a true story. The difference between based and inspired is that we don't know the majority of this man's journey. We don't know the details of what happened. We know little about his life. We don't know that he had kids. He never mentioned kids in real life. In this, I think there were 4.
A very, very like large family. Yes.
Yeah, large family. We know little about his wife, though we do know that he was married. So the whole storyline that they gave her, where she Smallville season 1, their arm through a shredder, is
Jesus.
that happened in Smallville season 1,
And he was untouched. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, like that just bothered me. And then everything basically between him leaving the railroad all the way up until even the war. Like, we know that he enlisted and we know that he was part of the war, but we don't know much after that. I think records kind of like fall apart then. So what bothers me is this is a 2 hour and 10-minute movie, 2 hour, right around there.
Yeah.
So about, I don't know, an hour and 40 minutes of the movie is completely made up.
Yeah.
And that frustrates me. There's literally, and spoiler alert for people that haven't watched this yet, he fights an alligator.
Yeah.
And that was
I think
kind
that's
of
going
like,
around. I knew about that scene beforehand. It's just like, because it's that ridiculous.
I was trying not to put that in my review for it, but like when that happened, you know it's coming. They set it up for a good like minute and a half, 2 minutes as you're watching this film. But I think that by taking a film that really is inspired by the story that you're clearly pulling from and saying that it's based on it, and then throwing all this bullshit in there and making stuff up, I think you do a disservice to the ultimate subject, and you don't do them justice. So that's what really bothered me here. I saw someone else call it a vanity project for Will Smith, and it's a clear Oscar bait movie.
Yeah.
In my eyes, it's 100% an Oscar grab, and I don't think it's going to get there.
No.
Unfortunately, but it could have been so much more than it was. It really frustrates me. Someone came back and said, I actually put this in my review, I think, but someone was talking to me about like, well, then what do you say about Titanic? Isn't that the same thing? And I'm like, not really. Titanic is telling a larger true story about what happened to the Titanic, but you clearly know that these are fictionalized people that are on the boat. The romance and all that is fictionalized. The focus there is fictionalized within the context of a larger story. That's not what you're told here. You're told in Emancipation that, this is based on this guy's true story, and it's not.
Yeah, there's no actual Rose DeWipicator and I almost said Jack Johnson, Jack Dawson,
Jack Harlow hanging out with Dua Lipa.
Jack Harlow hanging out with Dua Lipa. Those two people don't actually exist on the record books of the Titanic. They are just like complete, and historical fiction is good that way. Yes, this is an actual person, and it's almost, you want to say, instead of even based on a true story or inspired by a true story, I almost wanted them to say inspired by a photograph. Like, this is like they found a photograph true. And they like kind of like, told the story around that. And yes, the person is real and they have records of him and everything. But that was like, and then when I saw the photograph and him finally there, I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. But there was an action movie in here, which you want to get his suffering. You want to understand that. But you could get that with just trying to outrun Ben Foster. You can get it with just that. You don't need weird action movie moments and stuff where, he's doing surgery on himself inside of a tree, inside of a hollowed out tree. I think it instead cheapens it instead of making it intense. Like, I don't know. But I mean, I think Will Smith was very good. It is, like you said, an Oscar bait performance without a doubt. I think it's almost like, not that this was all planned, but it's like, he probably didn't think he was going to be scoring big for King Richard. And so he had this coming up and he's like, oh, this will be my time. It is a shame because he would be a front runner right now if all that bullshit from the ceremony last year didn't happen. Like, I think he would be considered again, even with the King Richard win. But obviously, people aren't really gonna shove out for it or buy into it.
I really don't think Will Smith was anything to write home about in this movie. I thought that it was just a very, I don't want to say like one note. I don't think that's correct, but I don't know that the film did him any favors, and I don't know that he had a ton to work with that would make him stand out for me.
As they said on The Big Picture, it doesn't really play to the Will Smith strengths, which is interacting with people.
True.
And that's like really what, it's either interacting with kids in King Richard or interacting with like stuffy white people like in Wild Wild West or Men in Black. And instead, this was something where, he was just with himself the whole time. And, there's like a DiCaprio in The Revenant, there's a certain commendable nature to that. But I agree with you. It doesn't really do him favors. You're right. There's not really much like to go off of. I think, there was an intensity to it. I think it deserves more attention than it's getting, although, he doesn't really deserve that attention or praise. But yeah, it was a solid performance. I'll give it.
Okay, I'll disagree with you there, but I'm with you.
Solid, yeah.
One of the websites that I was reading was History versus Hollywood, and taking this to be true, this is what it shows as the record of what Peter went through. Based on this is a clipping of what he told the medical examiners as he sat for his examination, and then there's a Harper's Bazaar article. And that's pretty much it. And so, they basically, this website makes a point and says that the film assumes that the less reliable July 4th, 1863 Harper's Weekly article is factual.
Okay.
But who knows,
Yeah, that'll be tough to check that kind of stuff. And I mean, I think it's okay to sometimes take like licensing in a story with historical stuff. I think of something like The Patriot, where Benjamin Martin was a real dude, but I think they changed his name. Mel Gibson's character Benjamin Martin is a real dude, but they changed his name and just a lot of the stuff in it. But it did make for an interesting movie. It's just you kind of have to know that stuff. Like it's a tough thing with the historical licensing and the telling the story.
The difference is they didn't say Patriot was based on a true story.
They actually didn't say that. You're right. That's actually it right there. Yeah, that's true. I'll give you that.
Inspired by, they could have gotten away with inspired by too, because it's inspired by what this guy
was based on a true story. Yeah, but
they did or they didn't.
They didn't. So that's like another point to you. Yeah.
Point me.
Points. Was that Chris Harbor?
I was very fired up about it all. Anyway, all right. Next one we want to talk about is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio in the year of the wooden puppets. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio made its debut on Netflix last Friday. This is a delightful movie.
Oh yeah.
An absolute delightful movie. I'm about to burp into the microphone for my weekly, chugging of my bubbly water. Sponsor me. I really actually enjoyed this, and I'm not a huge fan of Pinocchio to start with, so I was very apprehensive going into this. The stop motion animation is just stunning. The fact that the story relies on the darker story of Pinocchio that I think was first published in the late 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. That I really like that because it was something that we don't get to see often, because most of these fairy tales, so to speak, have been Disneyized over the past century, and we're not used to kind of where they were born out of. The Brothers Grimm, as an example, we're not used to the darkness of them. But I really like this. I thought everything about it really worked, except for the fact that like Jiminy Cricket, the cricket here is like way on the sidelines. And there were other aspects of the story that bothered me. And I'm a really great podcaster here. I can't recall what I was just going to say about the part that bothered me. I thought the second half lost a little bit of steam. Mm-hmm. The first half really had me engrossed. I'd like the differences in terms of story elements, like the blue fairy and things like that. As well as every time the Pinocchio dies, what he sees there.
Yes. He has to stay dead for longer and everything. That was just like this lovely little like video game obstacle almost that I love.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, you're out of rebirths. But I really liked it. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, this was an A for me. I like, because I think like something like stop motion animation, which by the way, not only are there 2 Pinocchios this year, but there's 2 Netflix stop motion animated releases this year with Wendell and Wild. Now, Wendell and Wild was a little bit too much put into one movie, like a lot of like, I don't even want to say plot. It's like 800 different stories in there. So that one I didn't love as much, but Pinocchio was like, yeah, they went for the darker edge on this. And I've like, seen some comparisons to the 1800s novel, and it's like even darker than that. Like Jiminy Cricket's immediately killed like by Pinocchio. Like, so there's a darker edge to it. I love the style of the cricket in this one, where, Ewan McGregor is some pompous asshole trying to write his memoirs. And I thought that was just like this great little moment. It's like, oh no, he doesn't want to be the conscience like the cartoon character. He like doesn't want to like be involved in this. And he by the end, like there's actually a strange arc for the cricket, even though you're right, he is like sidelined and put under the glass like usual. I like it can't be understated so much. The stop motion animation, first of all, I still look at that and I consider it impossible. Like this style of
I totally
animation
agree.
it's unbelievable. It's like it's straight up for sadists. Like, there was a interview with Del Toro, and he literally said, like, like one shot would take 6 weeks. And I can't even fathom that. Like, I mean, granted, these guys are doing this for a career, these stop motion animators. So I guess they're just sort of used to this. But like, it still baffles me that this was able to like be created. And they did something different with it here, where they made all of the characters actually, seem like puppets. And that's because it's stop motion, but it's also because they're under the reins of fascism. And this is what I love about it, is Guillermo del Toro managed to inject politics into so many of his stories in a way where it's not preachy. Still obvious, don't get me wrong, fascism, puppet, get it? But like I enjoyed the fact that, like, it was in there. It was like an overarching theme. Literally, Mussolini shows up to a show. I enjoyed all of those parts. And I just love that, like, you think of like Pan's Labyrinth, and even Shape of Water does it a little bit. And Devil's Backbone even does it, where there's like, there's the overarching war, there's the overarching like terror that's going on. And it's never something that feels preachy or annoying, but it's just stunning visually. I really like this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just works. I mean, I was looking up how long this movie was filmed. It took 250 days to film. I'm sorry, that's a complete and total lie. 940 days to film, 2.5 years. Sorry.
I was gonna say, what's really funny is that, like, it took if you said 250 days, it's like, oh yeah, that's how long it took for Apocalypse Now to get filmed, which is way too long for a live action movie to get filmed.
They say
it take over a year.
Netflix's website has this whole article about the filming process, and it says Lawrence of Arabia, a nearly 4-hour drama, took 3 months to film on location.
My God. All right, so I think I'm frozen. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, good. You can hear me at least.
Yes.
I am frozen, but you know what? We're gonna keep on going if you can still hear me, so we're good.
Let's keep powering through. All right. All right, listen, I want to make a quick oh God, this is gonna be so much fun. A quick redirect here, and we're gonna jump into the DC stuff. And the reason is because someone involved in it just broke their silence over it, and it's juicy. It's juicy as shit. All right, so let's start with the fact that news broke last week. I want to say it was last Wednesday, around then, that there was that Wonder Woman 3 was not moving forward, and that Patty Jenkins wasn't going to be associated with it. Over the coming days, we learned a little bit more that it wasn't necessarily the Wonder Woman was being abandoned. It was just that in its current iteration, it wasn't being they weren't continuing in that direction. They weren't going to make Wonder Woman 3 as Patty Jenkins had pitched. Then news came out that Patty Jenkins was no longer associated, was no longer attached, period. There were rumors that she had been pushed away. There was then a clarification that came out later that she stepped away of her own free will based on the fact that they had asked her to take the character in a direction that she didn't want to. Now we have Patty Jenkins 10 minutes ago posting a letter to Netflix. And here's what she says. You ready for this?
Let's hear this.
Sigh. I'm not here to talk about private career matters, but I will not allow inaccuracies to continue. Here are the facts. Side note, this is going to be a long one. I originally left Rogue Squadron after a long and productive development process when it became clear it couldn't happen soon enough, and I did not want to delay Wonder Woman 3 any further. When I did, Lucasfilm asked me to consider coming back to Rogue Squadron after Wonder Woman 3, which I was honored to do, so I agreed. They made a new deal with me. In fact, I am still on it, and that project has been in active development either since. Oh, Star Wars news! I don't know if it will happen or not. We never do until the development process is complete, but I look forward to its potential ahead. When there started being backlash about Wonder Woman 3 not happening, the attractive clickbait false story that it was me that killed it or walked away started to spread. This is simply not true. I never walked away. I was open to considering anything asked of me. It was my understanding there was nothing I could do to move anything forward at this time. DC is obviously buried in changes they are having to make, so I understand these decisions are difficult right now. I do not want what has been a beautiful journey with Wonder Woman to land on a negative note. I have loved and been so honored to be the person who got to make these last 2 Wonder Woman films. She's an incredible character. Living in and around her values makes one a better person every day. I wish her and her legacy an amazing future ahead, with or without me. That's an interesting inclusion. Walking side by side with Linda Carter, an absolute legend and beacon of goodness and light, has been a thrill. I have learned so much from her and will cherish her as a friend and mentor always. My crew has been like family and fought every day to give the world the best films they could. And Gal Gadot. Where do I even begin? Gal is the greatest gift I've received in this whole journey, a cherished friend, inspiration, and sister. There are no words I can use to convey how magical she is. She is the walking embodiment of Wonder Woman in real life and a better person than the world can imagine. Never once in millions of moments I have spent with her did I see anything less. She is a gift to this world, and even more so to me. Lastly, but most importantly, thank you to the incredible Wonder Woman fans and for all of your love and support. Wonder Woman fans are often not the most visible in the media and online. I was like, whoa. But I want you to know that we have always seen and celebrated you and your importance. You were first and foremost in our minds every day we made the last 2 films. You are the best and most loving people, and I look forward to always celebrating you. Thank you all for this wonderful journey. Keep up the Wonder Woman spirit. Any day that you face struggles, try asking, what would Wonder Woman do? I hope her beacon of love, truth, and justice is always there to lead the way for you as she has done for me. So, a couple things to take from this right off the bat after just reading it for the first time. It sounds like she made very clear that she didn't walk away, that she was probably told, like, nope, it's not happening right now, which I do probably believe is true. I don't know that there's ill will here, but it sounds like she was told we're not making your Wonder Woman 3 right now, if at all. So, like, do what you want. Well, but I guess starting off with that Rogue Squadron piece is also interesting because it seems like she made decisions on other projects based on Wonder Woman 3, and now that's not happening, and it still impacted these other projects. So that's very, very interesting. The other piece is that she does say that I completely missed where it is, with or without me. Wish her an amazing legacy in the future. So I don't know that the door's closed here. I don't know that this is a total rebuke of everything that we've heard. But she recognizes that DC has a lot of changes going on, and that they're tough decisions. So, yeah, interesting. You don't usually see someone come out, especially a director, with like this much context around what's been going on.
She sounds professionally pissed, and I think that's a very respectable way she is. It sounded like she's not like flinging shit. She's not like doing anything of that nature. But she is a little peeved, and she kind of lets that happen. I think that is the most interesting part, with or without me. I'd assume that she believes, and probably at this point would like to not be involved as a director. I think she would probably like come back as a producer or some sort of like something a little bit more overarching, or she'd be willing to. I feel like at this point, there's no real point in like a director for her. I should rephrase that. I don't think she would like to do any sort of direction at this point. I think it would just be some sort of producer credit, which, by the way, she probably already has at this point, considering like how
she developed.
So she's been developing that. So I think that's her goal with this. But I think that like I'm trying to like parcel the rest of the stuff you said there, or she said technically. And at this point, I don't know like what's happening with Star Wars at all still. It's like, it's funny that she mentioned that could still happen. I'm like, I don't know, buddy.
Well, apparently it's in development. So, hey, that's interesting.
that is the first time I've heard something of a Star Wars film being in development in a very long time. So
it's true.
That should be
very
fun.
True. So let's take a step back on this DC stuff. And I'll mention that the Hollywood Reporter article that broke the story, Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3 not moving forward as DC movies hit turning point, was released a week ago tomorrow. So today is Tuesday that we're recording. This was released on the 7th last week. Within that and from that, I guess I'd rather say from that, a lot of rumors started coming out. There was talk of a potential total reboot. There was talk of the Man of Steel sequel not moving forward. There was talk of even Henry Cavill potentially not being involved moving forward. We did learn a couple days later that there apparently was a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton that was in the works, which had been rumored for a while, and that's apparently been killed off. And then we also have learned that Black Adam 2, which, you know, depending on who you talk to or what you read, is either losing $100 million or making $50 to $100 million profit.
How is this hard to figure out? I love this. This is a strange reporting thing.
There was a story, and I haven't looked into the sources or anything, but there was a probably clickbait story saying that Johnson and team were accused of leaking false financials for the story. Anyway, for the film. But that also leads to Black Adam 2 potentially not moving forward. And someone made this point, which I actually think is really interesting, that Dwayne Johnson never publicly congratulated James Gunn or Peter Safran when they were brought on board, which is a very, very odd thing for him because he's very vocal on social.
I was just about to make a point where, like, no, he's a pretty private guy, so no, that's why probably he doesn't really promote that much.
All right, so then,
keep going.
Let's jump over to.
You do that. You fly through all this stuff like Superman and Man of Steel 2.
I'm trying to get through it fast. All right, so here we go. So then on Thursday, December 8th at 2:25 p.m., which I believe was West Coast time in the States, Deadline published an article entitled DC Disruption has town jittery. What's next for Man of Steel and other sequels after Wonder Woman 3 jolt? There's a lot of information in here, and it does quote a few of the things from a couple of the tweets from Gunn, but I'll also reveal some of the other quotes they have in here. Quote unquote, this is creating a riot, says one content maker connected to DC Fair about the level of silence they've received on the fate of their DC projects going forward. Quote, and it's a horrible optic. This business is based on relationships. And then there were the rumors that everyone might be recast. And then another source said, quote, these franchises, which already make a lot of money, why stop them? How can a studio that's bearing so much debt afford to start from scratch? There are scripts and actors' schedules to be figured out. Very interesting. They also then mentioned Black Adam, but also said that it would probably be stupid for them to get rid of Black Adam or to get rid of Johnson because he has such a huge social media following. And, you know, a lot of social clout out there. James Gunn did take to Twitter that day, and he said, quote, that, yes, it's a fractious environment, meaning that there's a lot of fans on different sides, and that he knew there would be an unavoidable transition period as him and Peter Safran, moved into telling a cohesive story across film, TV, animation, and gaming. Then he also said, quote, we know we are not going to make every single person happy every step of the way, but we can promise that everything we do is done in the service of the story and in the service of the DC characters we know you cherish and we have cherished our whole lives. All right, so let's get into the news here of what actually is confirmed according to this Deadline article. Everything that we learned about Wonder Woman 3 and what we just spoke about, I guess we can leave that there. It seems like we've said enough, and Patty Jenkins has said her piece. Man of Steel 2. They basically say they recognize that prior to the Black Adam film and prior to Gunn and Safran coming on board, it was Warner Brothers and Johnson who ended up bringing Henry Cavill's Superman back in for that last scene, the mid-credit scene in Black Adam, to give the dark movie an uplifting, exciting cliffhanger is my favorite line in this. I also didn't realize this, but Henry Cavill is managed by Danny Garcia, who also represents The Rock. That was kind of interesting. Yeah, so they've been championing for him to return for quite a while. Long story short here, basically what they say is that, and I'm jumping through this article quickly, so I apologize if I take a second. In a recent development, and I'm quoting the article, we've seen correspondence that Cavill was in lockstep with the studio in announcing his return on Instagram. Man of Steel producer Charles Roven and a writer, which has been reported to be Dirty Pretty Things scribe Stephen Knight, who was Oscar nominated, had written a pitch or given a pitch to Warner Brothers pre-Gunn and Safran. They didn't like it, and they wanted to wait for Safran and Gunn's plan to come into place. Hence, Man of Steel 2 never was greenlighted, didn't have a director, nor was it packaged. Man of Steel 2 remains an open slot until the studio hears a better pitch. They're quoting Johnson, who said a million times, like, why wouldn't they bring him back? Blah, blah, blah. Then they're talking about The Flash. There apparently was a new ending or an ending shot. I don't know if it's just scenes or what it is, but Cavill shot scenes for the end of the Flash movie involving Clark Kent with additional cameos by Supergirl, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman. However, the studio right now is sitting on these options until its execs confer with Safran and Gunn. They don't know if they'll want to do another Ezra Miller-led Flash based on all the stuff that they have had going on in their life. And they want to kind of leave it to them to figure out how they're going to tee up a sequel should they go that route. The final thing is that it's been radio silence with Black Adam too. And then this is where it says Warner's will be keen to keep an asset like Johnson with 500 million social media followers in the fold, which is absolutely crazy. And then also that he's made several hit movies with New Line, including San Andreas, Rampage, and Journey to the Center of the Earth. I love Journey to the Center of the Earth. The first one, though, with Brendan Fraser.
I was going to say, like, I forgot that. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, and then he got replaced by Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
The first one's good. 2 other points real quick. Will there be a complete reboot of DC Stars? One studio insider tells Deadline, quote, "At no point was there any preconceived notions of not continuing with these actors." They say it all boils down to how The Flash and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom do at the box office. And not to mention the studio doesn't want Godot to hang up Wonder Woman's lasso. So I feel like, of course, they want their films to do well. I don't know if like Henry Cavill continuing or, Jason Momoa continuing has anything to do with them. I don't think they're going to bomb, put it that way. Last thing is there were rumors that Jason Momoa was going to wrap up as Aquaman in his next movie and then take on a different character, which would be Lobo, because he looks like him. And apparently that's just all junk and fan speculation.
So I think when the rule as we come up forward with all of the news we're going to get, which, there's going to be rumors, there's going to be like articles flying around all the time, as we've like learned in these past 2 weeks or week even. I think the most important thing is to realize that wait until James Gunn says something, even though he might be like, hiding some stuff behind the scenes a little bit and stuff like that. We can't say anything until James Gunn says it, just because like he has just like kind of refuted a lot of the like rumors. And the other thing is that, and this is a really important one, this is going to take a while. And I think it's going to be very slow, especially if they're going to be waiting for the Flash movie and the Aquaman movie to come out, which is like, God, forever now. I think at this point, it's one of these things where like they're going to wait for those to come out and they're going to decide what's going to happen. But this is going to be a very long and, probably painful process where it's like, everyone's like, well, why isn't Henry Cavill in this movie tomorrow? Like, why aren't they making this? It's like they're going to be like putting a lot of pieces in order. I mean, he inherited something that is a little bit of it's not a big time mess, but it is a little bit of a mess where like things are out of time. Different movies are not linked up in the right ways. It's not like it's not like someone taking over in the MCU where it's like, I mean, now the MCU is a little bit cockeyed, but if someone took over the MCU like during the third phase, it's like, oh wait, I just have to plug in Infinity War and I'm going to be fine. And so with this instead, this is some very like intense stuff where we don't exactly know where to go with this. And so I think he's not going to just like move all the pieces off the chessboard. He's going to keep some stuff there, but he's going to try to figure out how to do that, which is a very, very difficult task. Instead of just, if he was someone that flipped the board, as much as I'd be sad to see Henry Cavill go and Gal Gadot go and, Jason Momoa go, like, I wouldn't blame him if he wanted to just be like, no, you know what? Starting completely over because this is tough.
It's almost the easier thing to do.
He's instead performing some surgery. And it's interesting. I love like one of the fun things I laughed at myself throughout this week is people were like, James Gunn is ditching Superman and Wonder Woman. I'm like, well, James Gunn is famous for Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad. This guy loves to like make an entire movie like surrounded by like Mr. Snicklepuss or something like that. The guy that's like in between a half a page and a comic, and he'll make an entire movie on that. So he's not doing that anymore. So I can't chuckle at the fact of like people will just be like, why is he getting rid of the head people? It's like, that's why.
That's a really good moment for me to step in, though, and say that the most recent thing that we've learned is in response to a fan tweeting, "Hey, James, please tell us if we're going to see a Superman. We've been starved of the greatest comic book character on the big screen for ages." He went on to say, "Yes, of course, Superman is a huge priority, if not the biggest priority." And then someone said, "What about the almighty Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern?" And James Gunn said, "That's not a priority for me, and even much less of one for Ryan Reynolds."
I really like James Gunn a lot, and how he his fan communication is pretty outstanding, even when he's saying nothing. Which right now he's saying nothing because I genuinely think he doesn't know anything. And I think that's he's still working through stuff, so he doesn't want to put out official statements yet, but he's still responding to a lot, which I think is very impressive.
I do think that they would be stupid to move on from Gal Gadot and Henry Cavill. I think
agree.
They both have cemented themselves as the characters. I think it makes sense to figure out how to bring them back into the fold. And whether that is solo films, whether that's continuing a Justice League storyline, whether or not that's starting a new storyline, whether or not that's mixing everything up after The Flash, whatever. I think there's a lot of stuff on the table, and that's why he's getting paid the big bucks to figure it out with Peter Safran, because we've been theorizing about this forever. So I think you're right. It's going to take a while, but I think we're going to start seeing some pieces come together, because while The Flash comes out next summer and Aquaman comes out next December at this point, and let's not forget Shazam's in the mix there too.
Oh, yeah.
I think that they're going to have to get stuff in production. And if things don't enter production next year at some point, then you're looking at a 2024 potentially without a DC movie. We also have Blue Beetle next summer. Can't forget that. You're looking at a 2024 without a DC movie. And that's just further putting them back. And to the credit, or to echo what someone else said in there, these characters are gold potentially, if used the right way. And the company's already in such dire straits, so they're not going to want to go 2 years or a year or two without a big DC film. I don't think they're going to get those giant blockbusters right off the bat, but I do think that they need to at least start laying the groundwork.
Yeah, I do agree that sort of a year without a DC film is sort of a death sentence almost, in this day and age. But I just think back to the Christopher Reeve Supermans, and then there was a Brendan Routh Superman, and then finally Man of Steel comes around, where they start to actually get a universe going and having some fun with it. So back in the day, there could be 20 years between two properties. That can't happen now, obviously, because nowadays it's no, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is churning along, DCU, so we got to keep up with that, and so that's part of the problem there, I think. But I would like to see them. I personally would like to see take your time, don't rush this, because DC has been accused of rushing in the past. Justice League 2017 is the case for that, where it's I don't know any of these people, and they're all in this movie together. But I have faith in it. But you're right. It's tougher in this day and age with pausing it. People will just forget about the DCU or DCEU or whatever it is going to be.
I mean, I guess they still have the Joker 2, which is scheduled for, is that 2024? I feel like that's 2024.
I think so, because they already got set photos cooking and everything.
And then if you were able to get the Batman cooking soon, that potentially could be a 20. Well, probably not. That's probably going to be much later. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out because I guess the other question is then how do we learn of the plan? Because if things will leak, they'll be so-and-so's been cast as blah, blah, blah. And this movie's in development under the code name of Shark Butt. I don't know, something weird. But is it a DC fandom thing where they come out and they say we've established a plan where the focus is on telling the story around this storyline from the comics or whatever. And here's the start of how we're going to get there with XYZ movies. And then just they go is that what we want them to do? Or And maybe that's a rhetorical. I don't know.
Well, I think about it as like, I just think not to compare it with Marvel, but that's the other comic book universe. But they have like that like timeline they show on the screen where they're like, this is for the next 20 years, which is optimistic that we're going to be like above water still. But that's what they have. They have this like crazy time. I can't see DC having that kind of timeline. They have branches. It's like diagramming a sentence back in grade school, like because they go a little bit crazy. And so, I mean, which is fine, which, by the way, I almost appreciate more. Because I think about it, I'm like, I like when you just listed off those movies, I'm like, okay, so how's the Batman going to connect? Okay, so how's Joker 2 going to connect? A part of me just says, who cares? Those are their own separate movies, like have their own life. But then you're not getting the same excitement as a Marvel movie gets, where it's like, oh, wait, no, we want to have stuff connect. We want to have stuff overlap in this DCEU. So my brain goes two different ways on it, really.
But remember that they weren't connecting anyway. Like the plan wasn't to connect them. So it's a shoehorn them in. It's going to be a little bit interesting. I was talking to someone recently about this within the past week, and I can't remember who it was, but you make a great point about the MCU and how Marvel comes out and says, like, here's our phases, like phase 5 and phase 6, and this is what we're looking at. But they didn't do that for phase 1.
Oh God, no.
They built it up. They let it go, and like Iron Man wasn't the smash hit that everyone was expecting. Like they had to build up a little bit, and DC is going to have to go through their growing pains too. That allows them to have, a little bit of wiggle room that if creatively it doesn't hit, they're still not taking the financial hit for it ultimately. And that's where Marvel is right now, that Marvel can deliver, a hit, a massive hit. And then the next film might not creatively be the best. And fans might not love it, but it's still going to rake in a lot of money, and it allows them to keep to retool where they need to, and then still move forward. I think DC needs to give themselves that room, or they need to commit to, even if a movie, if we make a plan and the second movie isn't a major hit, let's figure out what didn't work about it, fix that moving forward, but not torpedo the entire plan that we have. Because once they torpedo the plan, we're back at square one.
And Marvel had bad movies in the second phase. And there was a time where it was like, oh God, like Iron Man 2, Age of Ultron, even where, they made tons of money. And even then they were like, the Marvel machine was working. And so you walked out of there giving it a good review. But now we look back and I'm like, oh my God, this entire universe should have crumbled a few times. And I guess they did exactly what you said. They stuck with the plan, but they definitely fixed a few things. And they said, okay, maybe we'll have Iron Man just show up in movies instead of his own movies. And that worked a lot better. And so then people got more excited when they saw that. And it'll be interesting to see what they can learn from themselves. And I think Gunn is a creative enough director creative enough eye that he can sort of see those problems, I hope.
Here's hoping. All right, let's switch gears. And you were talking about developing a plan and making changes. Did the Hollywood Foreign Press Association develop a plan and make enough changes to bring them back to NBC after being put in detention this past year? Sean, we got the nominees yesterday. What are we looking at here? What surprised you? What snubs did we experience? What do we have?
Well, so they decided that they were going to, expand. The Hollywood Foreign Press was going to expand themselves, and so they would hire a lot more, nominate a lot more diverse performances, like Daniel Deadwyler in Till. Oh no, wait, they didn't do that. But they'd have women directors like Sarah Polley for Women Talking. Oh no, they didn't do that. But they'll have some of the stars of Women Talking get nominated. Oh wait, they didn't do that. So there's a certain level of where I think about this, and the optics alone are not great already. And hey, they're a voting body. They're not going to vote to just look good, but just those things alone are just really tough to see. And, first of all of those, I haven't seen Women Talking yet, so I don't know if it's good or the performances are good, but that's been making a lot of waves. And, it's just Sarah Polley is going to be one of the high rated directors and probably going to be a best director nomination. And it's just strange that didn't happen. For the most part, other than those glaring snubs, I did not mind these nominees that much. I will say Tom Cruise's Oscar campaign is pretty much over now. I would say so, because this is the one where you get the nomination. Now, granted, he was one of the first celebrities to badmouth the Golden Globes last year, and he said he was going to give them back. And like, so maybe that was a backlash. However, Brendan Fraser, said the same thing. He's like, I'm not going to the Globes, and he got nominated. Now, I think one of them is a lot more of an Oscar frontrunner. So, yes, of course, like Fraser's getting nominated, but it was interesting that Tom Cruise didn't, because this is the place where he would get nominated.
Yeah.
Oscars, maybe still, but I feel like this would have been the path to help him get there. It's still really tough for him to get a Best Actor for this one. The Fabelmans, the supporting cast of the Fabelmans not getting in there, Paul Dano or Judd Hirsch, I don't have the nominations right in front of me, but I don't remember seeing them. The Daniels having a Best Director nomination is huge. I hope that carries them to an Oscar nomination. Babylon got a lot of attention, which I didn't expect. It's not terribly surprising. Brad Pitt's getting somewhat Oscar buzz, and I forget the name of the star. That's
Diego
Cardova. Calva, yes. Now, he's been also getting some positive attention. I don't think this translates to an Oscar. I'm trying to look at a few other things. Ana de Armas is someone who I'm just saying I think could still get a nomination, because that's the perfect thing where it's like, hey, the performance is popular, the person is popular, and the movie is shit. And
who's the performance popular with?
There are people that have said, like, if not a few things about that. There is like a certain, like, she went through shit for that movie, and that like has a narrative that goes with it. There's some people have said, like, at the very least the performance is good while everything else is shit. I don't think the performance is that great. Like, I don't think you do either. But there are a lot of people that say, like, hey, at the very least the performance is something, and that's where they end it. And so there's a chance that she could sneak up. I'm just looking at a few of my other things. Triangle of Sadness making quite a showing, which, interestingly enough, it's its presence there, even though it didn't get a Best Screenplay nomination at the Globes, will probably lead to it getting a screenplay nomination at the Oscars, I think, because I don't see Triangle of Sadness breaking into Best Picture still, even though it's floating near the 10, it's floating there with the buzz, but I see it just translating to, like, hey, and what's weird about the Globes right now is they just had Best Screenplay flat out, instead of, like, so they only have 5 screenplays that are going to transfer to 10. Usually we have to whittle nominations down. Banshees of Inisherin had a good showing. Elvis had a great showing. Elvis is going to be like, Elvis could translate truly, like, that is a dark horse to win Best Picture, because these screenings are going so unbelievably well. Austin Butler is probably going to win, I think, for Best Actor in a Drama. Fraser might take him out. That'll be an interesting one to see.
I think it's Fraser and Butler at the
Fraser and Butler there, because Farrell's in comedy, and he's just gonna walk away with that one. Off the top of my head, I think I talked about everything. I'm a little bit upset about, I liked Jamie Lee Curtis in Everything Everywhere All at Once. I really liked her in that. I think Stephanie Hsu is just a much better performance. It was a bummer not seeing her there. That's pretty much all I took from it. I could start screaming about the TV nominations, because those were the most atrocious thing I ever heard, especially Best Supporting Actor, which, like, okay, you have Andor, Circus, Skarsgård, nothing. You have House of Dragons, where, like, literally, like, Patty Considine sitting there with one of the best performances in television, nothing. I was blown away by that one. This is a movie podcast, so I'll stop there, but holy shit, was that terrible. Like, that might be the most frustrating thing of all of these. But
Sean, for Best Actor, does whoever comes out on top at the Golden Globes for drama, so say it's Butler or Fraser, does that person become the top competition for Farrell at the Oscars?
Yes. It's going to be really interesting, because that's what's going to happen in both of these situations for actor and actress. Because, I could tell you who the 2 actress winners are going to be right now. It is going to be Cate Blanchett, and it's going to be Michelle Yeoh, and then we're going to have no idea who's going to win come Oscar time, because those 2 are just the absolute neck and neck front runners, including Danielle Deadwyler, which I'm going to pay more attention to the SAGs on this one. Mm-hmm. If she's not in there, that's going to be a problem. I'm going to be I'm going to be without explanation if she doesn't get a nomination. It's really, like, a tough one for me. What was I going to say about that, though? And this is just, like, my overarching thing about the Globes is I get that they're the other televised award show, basically. And yes, SAG is also televised, and I think that one should be paid more attention to when it comes to performances that are going to get nominated for Oscars. But I understand totally that like the people take stock in the Golden Globes because they are televised. They're the only other like big award show that's televised. But the people that vote on that is a completely like very, very separate, entirely separate body than the Oscars. Basically, it's just like the popularity and the ether of thinking about it. So like, I just did a whole diatribe about like what's going to win because what got nominated and everything like that. That's only based on like popularity and noticeable nature. So like, I think that Women Talking is still going to perform big at the Oscars. I think that Daniel Deadwyler's still going to get in there. This just means that, hey, Everything Everywhere All at Once is not a fluke. That is a popular one. This means that, the Fabelmans, while, the performances, I think Williams got nominated and that's it. So that's a little troubling, but I can't imagine like Hirsch or Dano not being in there. But that will be interesting because that is just another like what do they call it? Just 5 nominations for each supporting actor and actress. So but I think there's going to be replacements happening there. The Golden Globes have been criticized in the past for like one, taking bribes, but also like they're star fuckers because they want like stars to show up at their events. So maybe they nominated Brad Pitt on merit, but maybe they nominated Brad Pitt because they want Brad Pitt to go to the Globes. And so they want like, these people to go to the Globes. And that's what they've done in the past. That's what they do now. They said they were going to cut that shit out and for over the long, arduous year that they took off. But I don't know. I mean, this whole thing will be interesting.
The Golden Globes care about ratings, whereas the Oscars are like, meh.
That is true. That is very true. But I don't know. I'm excited. Like when I saw the nominations come out, I was, for the most part happy with, except for those glaring omissions. I was saying, okay, this is cool. I like seeing some of this stuff here. It's, fun to see a few things that you probably won't see in the Best Picture race. Like, the Triangle of Sadness one is a fun, like, win to have because it's like that's not going to be near Best Picture. Who knows? Maybe I'll eat my words. I'd love to, but that's not going to sniff Best Picture nominations.
No, it doesn't smell like the Oscars to me, and I hate to put it that way, but it's just.
That's actually the perfect way to put it because that scene, which is, by the way, I will still rate comedy gold, even though it made me leave the theater to throw up.
It is wonderful.
It is really well done, even though it made me throw up. Like, I think it was fascinating in that way. Like, because I remember, like, I just felt miserable going back in the theater. I'm like, this is really good. They did a really good job. Oh God. Very interesting.
The surprises, not surprises, but the things that I liked that stuck out. Viola Davis for The Woman King being nominated. I love Olivia Colman for Empire of Light because her performance is really good in Empire of Light, even though the movie isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Hugh Jackman's performance for The Son, I'm glad about. I thought he was really good in that, and I love Hugh Jackman. Jeremy Pope for The Inspection is a nice touch. What else did I see that I was pretty? Adam Driver for White Noise is beyond.
That's the most Globes nomination on this list.
Beyond. I can't. Happy to see Marcel the Shell Shoes on in there again for Best Motion Picture Animated. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, though. I don't know what the hell this movie is, but people are talking about it like it's cracked.
I think it's going to get an Oscar nomination, which I would have never have guessed at the beginning of the year. And now I will say the one thing that it does, which impresses me, and I don't remember seeing this in the trailer. The animation is somewhat different than the typical Shrek animation. It's a little bit more artfully done, and that I still don't know what the hell this movie is. I didn't see the other Puss in Boots movie. Do I need to see it in order to understand what's going on in this one? This is like me with the Minions, where I'm like, do I need to see the 8 other Minions movies to understand Minions Rise and Gru, or I probably could fill in the blanks pretty easily. So I could probably go see this movie, but like a part of me is like, oh, I got to see the other 5 now. I will say, just to cut in with Jeremy Pope, the Jeremy Pope thing is very interesting because I think his stock is climbing very high.
Yeah.
I think he could definitely get put in there, like because like I said, Golden Globes not great barometer for the Oscars, but that attention does help out, and I think that more people see that name of Pope, more people in the Academy see that movie. That could get him there. That would be very interesting if that happens.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Quick other plugs. Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Best Supporting Actress in a Motion Picture. Very happy about that. Carey Mulligan for She Said. Very happy about that. Dolly De Leon for Triangle of Sadness. I will say I'm very happy for that too, because she is really good in that movie.
She's in she's in the whole movie, but she's only like speaking in the last 20 minutes, and it's brilliant.
Oh, it's a little more than 20 minutes, but
that movie went by very quick for me.
Oh God. Well, you threw up half of it.
That's probably why.
Barry Keoghan for the Banshees of Inisherin. I think that's a great inclusion. Sarah Polley is for Best Screenplay for Women Talking, so
At least
that's
they got
good.
that one, yeah.
That's probably about it. I did read that Tar and the musical scores for Tar and the song. Oh my gosh, what's the name of the song?
In Tar?
No, different movie. So the Tar soundtrack or score is ineligible for the Oscars because they use a lot of other. It's not totally original.
Yeah.
And the other one is Vegas from Elvis.
Oh yeah.
Because it uses a lot of unoriginal.
Mixed, yeah. It would be nice if Doja Cat could get an Oscar though for the Hound Dog song, even though that's definitely not eligible. It's a catchy little song.
It's a very catchy song.
It's a catchy little ditty. I will go back to now. I forgot that was another kind of bummer snub for me is The Woman King, which Happy Viola Davis is there. I want that thing to get to Best Picture really bad, and it's so funny because I remember I gave it a B. I think I would redo it and give it an A probably now. But I really would love to see that get to Best Picture. It's tough that it's not on the Best Picture list here. And that was really something that really could have helped it. Davis could still stay on there. I think that would be great. I really hope that we can get something there, but it would be really cool to see that as Best Picture.
Well, we'll find out in the middle of January when these hit the big, small screen of NBC.
God bless them for saying oh yeah, no, we're going to do it on Tuesday night because of football. Are you fucking kidding me? If we do I think I've used the Venn diagram example already today, but if we take the Venn diagram of football fans and Golden Globe fans, it's us two. That's it.
But I mean, to their credit on this, playing devil's advocate, because that's what I like to do. I mean, how many times do you hear partners say, I can't watch my can't watch my show because football's on, So, oh.
If I count it up now, Sam and I are two people that have 4 TVs in this house.
Yeah.
Already is there's a problem there that we have not addressed yet, but
I'm one person who has 2 TVs and a laptop, computer, and iPad and phone that I can stream on.
Very true.
Very fun stuff. All right, before we get to raves and rants, which I didn't have a rave or rant for this week, did you?
I have a small one, so I'll be able to drop it quick.
We'll let you drop it quick. Norman Reedus has joined the cast of the John Wick spinoff Ballerina with Ana de Armas starring. So that's actually a really cool inclusion. I like that casting.
It's funny because when I saw that, I was like, wait, we already saw the trailer for that. And no, that's John Wick 4. That's not the Ballerina one hasn't started filming yet. Reedus is a very interesting casting because there's 2 sides to John Wick. There's the proper continental side, and then there's the badass homeless people. I'm gonna kind of guess where Reedus is gonna fall on that one. Although I'd love to see him in a tux, fucking people up that way. But I love that Reedus is gonna be in stuff because he's the god of The Walking Dead. He was the one person that I don't know how it ended, by the way, but I know he got to the last season as one of the only original characters who is so beloved that he's out there. But so to have him get more roles because he is really beloved in not that John Wick is a nerd community, but in the nerd community available, he's there. But it would be great to see him.
Yeah, I think that's great casting. Sean, hit us with your rave and or rant.
So my rant is going to be the continue watching function on most streaming services, which it just drives me nuts. I mean, because I will watch a show, the first season of a show, really nice, love the show. And then the second season, when it gets released, won't show up on the continue watching. This is actually a problem with Netflix specifically, where, thankfully I'll see, and HBO Max does it as well, by the way. Thankfully I see it advertised heavily on the banner of the user interface. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. But it's you want people to watch your show, through the computer that they watched the first season. How are you not putting continue watching up there for the next season? I think Hulu does it as well. And so sometimes I will like not know that a new season of television came out on something. And all of a sudden it'll be like halfway done. It's a really nitpicky rant, and it's a very, very short one because it's just literally that. But I'm just like, we're gonna be putting man on the moon again. Let's please get the continue watching figured out. Like, just please.
I would agree with that. Speaking of on the moon and space, I cried during Goodnight Oppie.
Oh my God.
Did you watch that?
Yeah. What I love about what that doc did was there was a moment where the scientist at the end cries over Oppie's death, I guess, spoilers. And like, that should be stupid. That should be a stupid moment. And it's not. It is emotionally charged. That was a dynamite doc. They're calling that this year's Octopus Teacher.
I
Fuck
heard
that. It's better than Octopus Teacher, but it does have like that emotional like science like.
Wait. I have to tell you this story, and I'm going to completely. I'm not going to say who the critic is, but I was overhearing this, a fellow critic, and I don't even think they listen to this, but who was at our screening of Avatar last night, who just started talking about like. Basically, like, I'm going to have to get out of here if an octopus comes on screen because I'm deathly afraid of octopi. And just was explaining about like, why they're afraid, or like, the fact that like they can camouflage themselves. They have all the tentacles and they can move so quickly and all that stuff. And then was like, yeah, that documentary, like, I don't know, couldn't watch it.
Hell yes.
It was so funny. My quick rant, it's not a fully developed rant, but I just want to again encourage anyone else who is kind of in this space of mainly being a critic through social media, or the newer age critic who are concerned with followers and making sure that you're making headway and stuff. Headwaves, is that the right word? Headway. Or making waves.
Making waves, yes.
There we go.
Making headwaves.
Making headwaves. Quote. Trademark. That you don't have to be controversial just to be controversial.
Mm-hmm.
It is okay to like a movie that everyone likes. It is okay to not like a movie that everyone likes as well. But it also becomes very clear in a lot of times, I would say, like when you are going out of your way to nitpick and be controversial. It's something that I've seen a lot of people talking about recently, and it also works the other way, where like, if you don't like a movie, but like it's, you gotta be big on Marvel because it's gonna get you all the follows and stuff like that. Meanwhile, I'm like, Doctor Strange sucks. I think that's okay, and we need to be a little bit more honest and clear with our fan base. I fucking hate that I just said fan bases. Our followers, who may rely on your opinion, may not, but at least are giving you the time of day when it comes to what you're sharing or what you're posting. So like, let's cut that shit out.
Agreed. Wholeheartedly agree.
All right. There is let's talk about what's coming out this week. Very, very small indie film called Avatar: The Way of Water, sitting theaters.
Quick 80-minute movie.
Quick in and out. I'll tell you though, I didn't get up once to pee or to poop, and I've been having to poop during a lot of movies.
I've only pooped during one movie. It was Moonshot, which I think what I did in Moonshot, I think what I did in that bathroom was better than Moonshot.
Oh my God, worth the price of admission. Sean, is it safe to say people can expect a spoiler pod at some point this weekend on Avatar?
Yes, I was told by the wife that a Saturday morning would be optimal. So maybe like 10 or 11 we'll do it, and so then we'll release it on Saturday.
Works perfectly. Expect it later in the day, Saturday.
Exactly.
Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths hits Netflix. Black Adam hits HBO Max. Nanny hits Prime Video. I just watched this the other day. It's interesting. Have you heard of this one?
I did. I was trying to place it. I was going to Google it when I saw it on the outline, but
it's very, very creatively done. It's like a supernatural type horror ultimately, but it's creatively done and it's authentic in a lot of ways. I really like getting into the screenwriter and stuff like that, doing a little bit of research. I was really fascinated. So, and then The Drop hits Hulu on Thursday or on Friday. The Drop is a movie that I saw, I believe it's Sundance, and I was very big on this. I interviewed Jermaine Fowler and the director, basically the premise is they're on vacation to celebrate for like a wedding, and the one girl drops the baby.
Oh my god! Wait, I remember you talking about this one.
I loved this movie. It was so beyond funny. It's cringe comedy, but I remember laughing from beginning to end in this. It's just so good.
What's really weird is there's already a movie called The Drop starring James Gandolfini and Tom Hardy, which came out quite a few years ago. I think it was called The Drop. I got to look that up just to make sure, because it's like, wow, that's a very simple title to put on two different movies.
Yeah, I'm glad Hulu picked this up. It comes out this Friday. It's a really solid. Wait, it might be out today, actually.
Oh, that might be something I work on.
Hold on. Sorry, I may have just. Yeah. Oh, what? Oh, I'm sorry. It is not out this Friday. I am completely off. It is January 13th. For some reason, I put it on this week's list. But remember that that's coming out in January. Jesus, what is wrong with me? I'm removing it from the outline like I'm ever going to look at this outline again.
All right. If we ever come back to it, yeah.
Sean, Avatar is Thursday for you, correct?
Thursday for me. So count on that review for me on Friday and our spoiler ep on Saturday.
Perfect. And my review is out there if you'd like to check it out. And I'm very excited to talk about this, and also very excited to go see it again. That should tell you where I was coming from. But anyway, guys, we will talk to you for the spoiler pod this weekend, and then see you again next week. Sean, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad.
The Guy at the Movies podcast is a joint venture between Math Teacher Movies and Guy at the Movies. You can catch new episodes weekly right here wherever you're listening to this one. Subscribe so you never miss a beat.